Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm, under penalty of law, that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Would you kindly state your name, your title, and the agency you represent?
My name is Lillian Pangelinan. I am the acting administrator for the NMI Retirement Fund.
Thank you. Would your legal counsel please identify himself as well?
For the record, my name is Brad J. Huseman from the law office of Brad J. Huseman. I'm here in a representation capacity for Ms. Pangelinan, and I'd like to take this opportunity to respectfully object. We're not going to not answer your questions. I'm just putting in an objection that Ms. Pangelinan didn't have any notice and opportunity today. She got a call 5 minutes before she gave me a call, and we've both run down here in an effort to be as upfront and open with the committee as we can be, and we're here in good faith, but this was very, very short notice, and so I just wanted to lodge that objection at the beginning, respectfully.
Thank you, Mr. Huseman, and just for the record, Ms. Pangelinan did appear before this body on Friday, October 5th. She was informed that we would reschedule the hearing to a later date, which was today, Wednesday, October 10th. Supposed to be at 9 a.m. this morning. It was herself and Miss Larissa Larson. It was rescheduled for this morning, but this morning we learned, I think last night, late yesterday, that another witness that was scheduled for 9 a.m. But was on rota. We were supposed to schedule a teleconference with him at 9 a.m. We found out late yesterday afternoon that he was on island and would be available this morning, so I instructed our Sergeant at Arms this morning to inform both Ms. Pangelinan and Ms. Larson that they do not have to appear this morning at 9, so we could interview Mr. Wallenfong from CUC. Sarge, did you inform? Was there a reason why she wasn't informed? Okay, my apologies then. I thought the notices did go out this morning. But it was in good faith, and we, in order not to waste her time standing out here at 9 in the morning, that's why I asked that you be notified to stand by, and that we would, call you once the committee was ready. And so I'm sorry, I was under the impression that you were informed to stand by. And so I recognize your objection and duly apologize.
Thank you.
Ms. Pangelinan, just going back to our last discussion, we were going over the summary of the contributions revenue, which you did break down by fiscal year from 2006 to present, and you did include employee and employer contribution records for general fund, or rather central government executive branch employees, and you also provided additional information regarding autonomous agency data, and we thank you for that. I think we rescheduled the meeting on Friday to allow finance to be able to summarize their data as well, and they did, and they came back, and we already met with the secretary. But just to see if I recall, did we ask you to provide any further information or clarification on the information you had provided?
I don't believe you did. You just needed to get details on the appropriated employer and employee contributions.
Thank you. Is there anything else you are providing to this committee aside from what you have already submitted?
No, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. And I think you've already made a statement. We've had the opportunity to look at the figures that was provided by your office, and also look at the figures that was provided by the Department of Finance. And what we also concluded was that there are so many variables, so many different variables that could account for the differences in the figures from the Department of Finance, and there were cases where what was appropriated and earmarked were applied to a different fiscal year to cover, I guess, unpaid obligations. We found that in some cases what they reported as remitting to the retirement fund was less than what you reported, meaning your figures showed that you received more than what they actually remitted. And I think that happened in at least 2 different fiscal years. And I commented that that kind of error is not a bad thing. And because in at least 2 of the fiscal years, there were 2006 and 2007 was impacted by Public Law 15-15, which by law suspended the employer contribution that was supposed to go to the retirement fund. And then, of course, there were the other issues of the changing employer contribution rates that were changed over time based on the actuary and their computations. And then you also have the court order, which affected these rates as well. I think it went up to 37%, and then there supposedly was a court order to bring it down to 30%. Now, so granted there were all these variables, it is at least it is difficult, if not impossible, to be able to reconcile your figures with the Department of Finance figures based on what we asked of you, of both agencies. I think if we really wanted to come to the conclusion that or to gather the data properly, we would have to ask for more extensive information with clarifications on what exactly is needed. I think allowance for time for the agencies to be able to compile this data, all of which are not available to us at this point. I think it would neither be reasonable to come up with any type of conclusion at this point based on what we asked for and what was provided to us. So I will open it up to the members if they have any further questions. I pretty much asked what I needed to ask with the Secretary of Finance. Ms. Pangelinan, may also provide clarifications if you think such clarifications are warranted regarding your data or regarding any of the statements I've just made. So with that, I guess I'll open up the floor to members. Representative Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Pangilinan, good afternoon. If I may refer you to the printout entitled NMI Retirement Fund, CNMI Government Employers Contribution Receivables as of September 27, 2012. And instead of starting from let me go to page 2. I don't know whether there, oh yeah, there's the page number at the top right. Halfway down, pay period 06. I don't know whether that's pay period, but it looks PP number 6, PPE, March 3rd, 06, and S. I don't know what the numbers represent, but it reflects a receivable of over 90 days at, is that 7,700?
That's what it looks like.
Okay, so accounting, you're the accounting person. That means that as of March 2006, that's the only employer receivables from the government?
Congressman, I believe that date where it says S is notates a supplemental payment, and so I can verify with our comptroller, but this would mean that a supplemental payment was made to the retirement fund, and this is the amount that is owed in terms of employer contributions.
So that is what is owed the fund.
For that pay period.
Okay.
That's a supplemental.
Yeah, and I think our subpoena to Sistico, if I remember, requested for employee and employer contributions from 2006. So I think we should start from there. So March of 2006, we had the fund was owed 7,700. And if you go to the last page, all of these, anyway, all of these numbers per period, and the final column is what's owed for that pay period. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, so from 2006, March of 2006 to pay period number 18, 8/25, 2012, that 7,700 has ballooned to 187,469,526.11. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, you lost me there, Congressman.
Okay.
That figure, can you just repeat
Okay,
that
from
figure?
let's go with the first part of we have columns there, 0 to 30 days. That means what should have been remitted or transferred to the fund that hasn't is within the 30-day period, right? And the next column is 31 days to 60 days. The next column is 61 to 90 days. And then the big one over on the right is the one over 90 days. So per pay period, whatever is owed or is showing in the books as being either over 0 to 30 days to 90 days is reflected on the right column, right? For example, pay period number 12, dated June 6, 2012, over 90 days is 465,485. Is that a running total on the right, or just that's a reflection of what's being owed, right?
This is strictly an aging receivable.
Okay. So from the 7,700 owed by the government to the fund in March of 2006 to 8/25/2012, that number is reflected on the bottom line there where it says report total 187,467.
The 7,700 is inclusive of that amount, but this is cumulative.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
So that the 7,700, the cumulative receivables has reached that amount.
Yes.
Okay. What happened for example, can you give us a rundown of, say for example, we don't want to go back too far. Let's look at recent month, or let's start January 14, 2012. We have 268. The next one is 268, 266, and now the bottom line there we have 100 or 500,000, and another one 512,000, and so did the lawsuit have anything to do with those numbers at the bottom? Why is there a significant increase in receivables per pay period from, for example, April 21st, 2012 of 272 to 500,000, the last two pay periods?
So I understand your question completely. You are asking, or could you ask your question
Okay,
again,
yeah.
please?
Yeah, Ms. Pangelinan, maybe let me phrase it. During the pending bankruptcy case, did the CNMI government continue to remit to the retirement fund?
I don't have the exact information on that, but as you can see from the fiscal year 2012 figure from employee and employer contribution, there is an amount there that was paid by the CNMI government. I'm not quite sure during the bankruptcy period how much of the contributions have come in. I can come back and give you that clarification or give you that figure.
And I was hoping that you would have the answer, because if there were any, I don't know whether that's proper accounting term, but if the employer contributions were deferred, I was going to ask whether there's been any communication with finance to remit what is owed or held back or deferred during this period that the lawsuit was pending, or the bankruptcy case was pending.
With all due respect, Congressman, that was not during my time. I'm not sure if there were any communications from the fund that originated from the fund to the Department of Finance requesting for some kind of collection, but I can verify with our office.
Okay, that's fine. But again, let me just go back and again ask this: from 2006 to pay period 18, dated 8/25/2012, that 7,700 has ballooned to 187 million. Or is that a correct reading of the presentation here? Because there's nothing on that over 90 days column. It's only showing 77. But is the 187 cumulative of the numbers reflected since July 2002 on page 1?
Yes, it is.
So the 187 million is a reflection of the total amount from page 1. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure that that's what we're reading here. That this 187 did not grow from the 7,700. Rather, it is a running total from July 2002, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that is what we have as receivables on record with the fund.
Can we ask, maybe I can direct this to the chairman, if I may ask the chair to seek the assistance of the fund to give us a total reflective of 2006 to pay period 18 August 25th, 2012. Okay. Is that okay?
So I understand your request. You would like us to update the information to include only 2006 figures onward.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
Chair,
And-
Council, did you wanna?
And I would like to make clarification. Are you seeking the numbers as they are here, or are you seeking, this is the underfunding by contribution. This doesn't reflect the underfunding by, there's this underfunding, and then there is the unfunded underfunding, which is 4 times this amount. Which number do you want?
The numbers I'm trying to get at is from 2006 to the latest numbers that we have is how much has the government's employer contribution have grown in that period, and I don't know whether these numbers would reflect the overall. You mentioned the unfunded of the unfunded, or I don't know what other factor, but I guess what I'm personally trying to get an idea of is how much is owed by the CNMI government to the retirement fund has grown. We hear the 300 million number, and then we're seeing over here 107 billion. So I tend to, I guess, agree with you that there are others that are not being reflected here. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is whether the fund can give us a number representative of how the amount owed by the government in terms of employer contribution has grown from 2006 to the latest available numbers that the fund has. That's all I'm trying to reflect.
So, and that's all. I just want to make sure we provide you with the information you want. So what we'll do is we'll provide you information from 2006 on, and there's levels of this, of what the employee contributions are, what that underfunding is, what the penalty is, and then what the actual underfunding is based on the actuarial rate, and that the total amount I think is somewhere around $900 million, it's $1 billion of promises that need to be funded. And we'll get you that information from 2006. Is what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So noted. Ms. Pangelinan, although the article references the employer share, would you dispute a statement? Would you dispute that the employee share is being remitted to the retirement fund? In other words, has finance been remitting the proper amounts, the rightful amounts of employee contribution to the retirement fund, and is it being done on a, what do you call this, timely basis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You are asking specifically for the central government?
Yes, I'm sorry.
For
I didn't
employee
clarify.
contributions?
Yes, ma'am.
The Department of Finance has been remitting employee contributions in a fairly timely manner to the fund.
Thank you. So there's no, just so we know that that's not an issue here. And I think the issue that Representative Sablan is trying to ascertain has to do with the employer share. I think there should be clarifications also that the employer share is not necessarily the same as the what is called the unfunded liability. That's the common term used. I think there's a more longer term for the, you guys know better, but the whatever that $300 million figure is, and there's so many factors that contributed to that. it's not the issue that we are looking at right now. So just for the members' reference, if what we are trying to ascertain is just the deficient employer contribution from the period of time from 2006 to present. Further question, members? Vice Speaker.
Good afternoon, Ms. Pangelinan. From the information we have been provided, we were provided by the Department of Finance. They specify how much they had remitted to you between the fiscal year 2006 and 2012. Do you have any record right now that kind of summarize how much was billed or how much is owing for each fiscal year, just to see, compare it to what was paid, so we know what was outstanding for that fiscal year? Do you have that summary with you?
No, I don't, Madam Congresswoman.
Oh, okay. Because between the fiscal from fiscal year 2006 to the 12, there were payments that were made. And,
Yes, there were.
I want to know how much was billed for every fiscal year. I'm sure that interest would be another matter, but just what was the billing at that time? The billing was sent or that you expect to receive, and we want to know as it relates to the payment that was made for that fiscal year, so that we know what was owing, which would be a part of the unpaid employer's contribution. We're not talking of the unfunded liability, just what's owing under the employer's contribution. But just very roughly, because from the information that we received between 2006 and 2012, a total of 44 million was remitted to the fund. Different amounts for the fiscal years, different fiscal years. And just very roughly, what was the billed amount between 2006 and 2012?
What we have submitted has an amount of 41.083 million remitted by the central government in employer contributions to the fund.
But what was billed?
We don't bill the Department of Finance.
I guess that was accurate. So how did they determine how much to pay? Do they get, or were they already? I mean, you would the most accurate figure would be coming from you, since the billing would, or at least there will be a document saying that we have this many employees, therefore we expect that much payment. So I wanted to know if you have a rough estimate. A rough estimate of what was paid between 2006 and 2012 versus that 44 million figure that was remitted to the retirement fund.
Vice, may I attempt to answer part of the question you raised?
Sure.
Yeah, and that has to do with how the amounts are determined. First is we, of course, at the legislature, through the budget process, appropriated a certain figure based on the number of FTEs, number of employees, and based on their salaries. And then those are embedded in the individual departments, allocated in the department's budget under personnel. Finance then remits the figures to retirement fund based on each employee's employer share, which is computed based on what now it's 30% or 7%. Finance calculates all that and then remits it to the retirement fund. Retirement fund also has their own information regarding how many employees are in the central government, and likewise with the autonomous agencies, what their salaries are and what the employer's contribution should be, correct? Obviously things like employees resigning or moving to another, withdrawing their employee contribution affects these figures, and that's why it is, as the Secretary of Finance said, they constantly have to reconcile their information to determine what those figures should be. But I don't think it works like retirement fund basically submitting a billing to finance and say, this is what you owe us. They depend on finance to have those data available and computations, and I guess at some point you reconcile your figures to see, if it's consistent or correct rather. So much for that clarification. Thank you, Vice. You still have the floor.
Yes, so I guess my point here is to know, maybe I should ask what's the process? When you're going to, what is being done? Do you just wait for finance to remit the money?
Yes, we do, and what they do is they give us a listing of employees with their gross amounts and then their employee share, and they break it down by class. So there's class 1, class 2, federally funded or otherwise. And so that's where we would, they would cut us a check representing so many employees on every pay period. And then the fund not only has to reconcile what was remitted with the check register, it also has to reconcile with the data provided. And we have been having a hard time reconciling those figures right now, but they're being addressed to cut the manual computation on the part of the fund. So we're hoping that part would be cleared up. But with respect to what we receive from finance, it is normally accompanied by a check register and a check amount.
And then you would take that information and cross-reference it to your data?
Yes, and then those information are inputted for each government employee, credited towards their individual contributions record.
So maybe you don't have to provide it right now, but maybe later on you can submit, just so that we have an idea as to how far we are from what is supposed to be paid versus what was paid, and what would the balance be for that fiscal year, not taking into consideration, or I don't know, or is the interest already included in the calculation?
The interest, on the $187 million that we provided you in total receivables is not inclusive of interest.
So that's the principal.
That's just that's just principal amount.
The base amount owed.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I will yield for now, Mr. Chairman. I guess since you're not around, Mr. Chairman, let me ask my last question. I said I yield, but is there a very big difference between your total, your amounts for each fiscal year and what, maybe you don't have a copy of what we received from finance, but
we are not privy to what's appropriated for each respective department and agency.
I guess what I'm looking at is just that spreadsheet, the information included in the spreadsheet that was given to us by finance, and I was just going to ask if there's a very big difference, because it's reflecting like 2,000. Yes, you don't have that information.
I'm sorry, I don't.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, I will yield for now. It's all right.
Thank you, Vice.
But I still would like to see if we can get the total amount owing. I know that 187 still owing to date. That's the 187 million receivables from the Department of, from the central government for the employer's contribution. So, is that then a part of the unpaid employer's contribution? That is within that amount, or it's already, that's where the amount is now, as of today?
That's what we have as receivables on the books with the fund.
So,
Bear in mind that that's not inclusive of interest and whatever else that has been ordered by the court.
so just so that we know, I think we are working with a figure 350 million. So the 350 million minus 187 will be the interest. Is that what you're saying from this figure, or is that amount approximately 300 million, or where does it stand right now? What is the actual figure?
If I may, real quick, I want to break these numbers out because this gets a little complicated, and there's lots of folks that think that the 300 million is an award by the court, and it's 300 something million. I don't even know the exact amount, but that's penalties, delinquent contributions. But there are also amounts. And the court has lowered the actuarial rate from 60.8, 61% down to 30%. And then there's the unfunded amount. And if you want to know how badly the fund is underfunded, if you assume an interest rate, and this isn't testimony, this is just for your background, if you assume an interest rate, a return on investments of 7.5%, it's $1 billion. For current retirees, that doesn't include, that includes people who are in the system and are part of it. If you got rid of all the current employees, I think that number goes a little lower, like 200 million. But it's a very, very large number. The 300 million isn't inclusive of all of the underfunding. So that's why I'm trying to get if you want us to give you extra documents, I need to know precisely what you want. If you want it to the amount that's completely underfunded, do you want it to the amount of employer-employee contributions at 30%, at 60%? I mean, that's part of the problem.
I will yield for now, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Sablan.
Just a follow-up. One of the other documents provided is the autonomous agencies receivables. Is that included in that other 187 total, Ms. Pangelinan, or no?
Autonomous agencies are separate.
Yeah. It says autonomous agencies, H receivables, and it has its own total, and I think at the end it's come to 55 million. Is that included in the 187, or is that?
No, it's separate.
Okay, so that 187, now we add this other total, so it's pushed it up over the 200 million. So there's others there that you need to tag on.
That's correct.
All right, thank you. Are you, Mr. Chair?
Any further? By the members, if not, I'm ready to dismiss our witness. Ms. Pangelinan, we appreciate your coming at such short notice, very short notice in this case, and we apologize again for the for not getting the notice earlier. I think we are pretty much done with our interview, but I will dismiss you in the event that the committee again requires your participation. We will give you this time more than reasonable notice. Before I dismiss you, Representative Sablan.
Yeah, again, Mr. Chair, I would just like to remind Ms. Pangelinan of my earlier request. I think what we're trying to look at here is how the status of the fund has, or how the dollar amount that is owed to the government, or is owed by the government to the fund, has changed from 2006 to total, and we'll leave it up to the fund to work the numbers. But I think what we're trying to like as I alluded earlier, was to look at figures that would be representative of how the government's overall receivables to the fund has grown from 2006 to the present. I'd like to ask for your cooperation. I know that the committee is wrapping up this process by Monday, and we are set to prepare the report of the information gathered for this committee. So if it's not too much to ask, I know that the fund has already gone out of its way to accommodate the request of the committee, but that's another request that we would ask of the fund, whether we can extend that cooperation and service and provide those numbers.
I just wanted to confirm with you, Congressman, you had earlier requested that I break out the figures to include only fiscal year 2006 through fiscal year 2012.
That's right, ma'am.
Okay. Would you provide that to me?
Ms. Pangelinan, yeah, with that in mind, can you perhaps give us how long will it take you to be able to provide that information to this body? Just so we can understand on or about when this data may be provided.
Can I ask maybe to be given up to Monday morning to submit the information? Is that too late? Okay, great.
Monday morning would be fine.
Okay.
If there's nothing else from the members, I would like to dismiss our witness at this point. Ms. Pangelinan and Mr. Huseman, thank you very much for coming, and that's it. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Members, please stand by. Before we wrap things up, I want to find out where we are regarding any outstanding witnesses that need to be scheduled. I do have one information for the members. The reason I kind of right now was to take a call from Mr. Fletcher. I was able to confirm that Mr. Fletcher will be available for our hearing on Friday at 1 p.m. Tomorrow they do have a court case, so Friday afternoon would be the best available time. So LA, please take note of that. John, you're going to be turning over the information that we received from CUC, the confidential information, to the members, to the clerk. I'm going to instruct the... John, will you talk into the mic, please, so we can hear you?
I will be delivering it to the clerk, and those members who have signed the disclosure agreement can come and view it, review it. The documents, I've just taken a brief review of them. One binder contains the same documents that were submitted to the JGO committee. The other one includes additional emails from economist.com between the governor's office, Jim Stump, and CUC.
So one of them we don't have in our possession, and that includes the emails from economist.com.
Correct, and I think CUC wanted us to have those because they wanted us to see why economist.com is not performing the economic analysis. There's a number of emails between Jim Stump and economist.com relating to trying to structure the economic analysis, and they couldn't come to an agreement.
Thank you, John. And just for clarification, the packet of information that they're turning over to us that we already have a copy of, those are not necessarily subject to non-disclosure. Is that correct?
That is correct. Any documents that we have received from any other sources other than being turned over to us today are documents.
So, and the other one, just to make sure, clerk, please take note, we maybe need to mark the one that we haven't been provided yet as confidential. So the members are clear, maybe a stamp on the documents that were not provided to us yet. Maybe stamp it as confidential, so at least we know what we can disclose and what we cannot.
The documents that were submitted, they're marked in individual binders, marked confidential, and each page is stamped with a number. The other documents that were submitted by CUC don't have a number stamped on the bottom of the page. So that's how we can tell the difference between the ones that were submitted today and the ones that were submitted before.
So the ones without a number are the confidential ones.
The ones with a number.
Thank you for that clarification. Members, take note. Shar, did you want to clarify something?
Yes, just a reminder, Ken, I did give an update on all the subpoena ducis tecum. If you notice that you don't have a document that I noted on the list, can you please let me know so I can Xerox copies in advance? And please update your subpoena schedules. We have schedules added for Fletcher on Friday, which is 1 o'clock, and Ambrosio is moved to Monday, 10 o'clock in the morning. Oh, Chair, si Tomas Camacho, we can't seem to find him, and we have heard rumors that he's currently sick and going through chemo. So I'm not sure if you want to cancel his subpoena or continue to search for him.
Vice, I would rather dispose of it right now. I don't want to keep this lingering. It was really Representative Torres that had made that request, but he's not here, and we cannot continue to delay things. And I would like to see what the members wish regarding Mr. Tom Camacho. The person is, in my own understanding, also getting treatment. So is there a motion to?
Motion, Chair.
The motion is to dismiss Mr. Tom Camacho as a witness to this, to witness relevant to the meet and greet article. The motion has been offered and seconded. Discussion.
Ready?
Ready? Clerk, call the roll.
Representative Cruz. Representative Frederick Leon Grove. Representative Bugawara. Representative Sablan. Representative Tabitha. Representative Dennis Torres. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, 4 members present voted yes.
With the vote of 4 yes, the motion is adopted. Members, can I call short recess? Really short. We are back, and to clarify that motion, the motion was to excuse Mr. Tom Camacho from appearing before this body. That means he no longer has to testify. And with the vote of 4 yes, that motion is adopted. Members, to clarify further, Mr. Fletcher would be appearing before this body at 1 p.m. on Friday, October 12th. The last individual will be Mr. Ambrosio Obomro, who will appear on Monday at 10, not 9 a.m. 10 a.m. on Monday. Members, we do have to discuss at some point, whenever we have time. I think maybe not tonight, but if there is available time after maybe the next meeting, I do want to discuss with the members the issue of what happens, procedural wise, after the testimonies are received. I'll be asking the council to give their recommendation to us, and we can discuss it at that time. Okay? Any other outstanding issues, LA? That's it, huh? Okay. Vice, for your information, we voted to not dismiss, excuse Mr. Tom Camacho from testifying. And I got a call from Representative Torres that